In October of 1982, the compact disc was first released in Japan. It was revolutionary in the fact that it was able to hold more computer storage while being easily transportable. With 700 megabytes of storage, it was easier to save larger files to the disk without the fear of not having enough storage. Also, it was able to hold 80 minutes of audio, allowing for artists to put their albums on a newer format. After growing continuously over time, the compact disc exceeded both vinyl, record, and cassette sales in 1991. Around that time as well, the fourth generation of video game consoles started to hit the market, with the Sega Genesis in 1988 in Japan and 1989 in North America, and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990 in Japan and 1991 in North America. These consoles were refined for their 16-bit graphics and larger color scale compared to the older generation. But there was one problem. The games were on cartridges. These made games limited in size, as well as audio quality that was good but could never match CDs. So, whenever CDs reached their absolute peak in 1991, Sega decided to profit off their success and release the Sega CD. Called the Mega CD outside of North America, the Sega CD was an add-on to the Sega Genesis that allowed you to play both music and CD-based games made to run on the hardware. A lot of these games were basically videos where you could press a button sometimes. These were called full motion videos, or FMVs. These were impressive, but most of the library of the Sega CD were these, and it gets to a point where I stopped caring. The overall technology to make these games was taken from Dragon's Lair, which used Laserdisc to show high quality visuals. The thing with Laserdisc was that it was able to show somewhat quality video because it was made for that. CD was made to listen to slop. As a result, the video quality on the Sega CD was okay for its time and outright terrible now. I mean, what am I looking at? Well, not money. So as you could probably guess, this thing was not ever gonna work. Firstly, it was an add-on to the Genesis instead of its own separate console. It costed $300, and it started to have fierce competition really early on in its life. Just 3 years after the Sega CD's launch in 1994, Sony released their first console, the PlayStation. And unlike the SNES and the Genesis, the PlayStation had a CD drive included for the same cost as the Sega CD. That definitely destroyed any chances of the Sega CD doing good. What made it worse is when Sega got greedy. The Sega 32X was another add-on for the Genesis, releasing only a year after the Sega CD in September of 1994. It was made to show 32-bit graphics just like the PlayStation, except it costed $160. Why would you buy this? First of all, the entire setup with the Genesis, Sega CD, and 32X was so bulky, it took 3 giant bricks to power the dang thing, and the whole setup ended up costing more than double the cost of the PlayStation for worse games, older hardware, and more of a risk for a house fire. And that's not including the fact that the Sega Saturn released only 2 months after the 32X, with both CD support and 32-bit graphics. So now that we got the Sega CD's flaws out of the way, let's talk about what I felt it was really good at, its aesthetic. A main part of the Sega CD was the audio CD playback, and the developers made sure that it looked interesting. This is honestly hard to explain, but it looks amazing, especially with the Genesis graphics. But my personal favorite part were the startups. These were fully animated sequences designed to probably keep you stimulated while you put the dang game in. They were fun, impressive, and a little creepy. These gave me a feel of emptiness due to there not being much to look at and to describe, even the one with like Sonic or something. Mainly the amount of empty space there was gave me a bit of a liminal vibe. Overall, the Sega CD was a pretty big failure, being released right before its own replacement, the Sega Saturn. But where the Sega CD had them beat was its menu design and startups, as they were unique and interesting. I mean, I could look at this for hours. And in conclusion...
Finish the lyrics. California girls there.
I'll pull up to your block every single day, and the day that I'm not on your block is the day that I'll be there 2 times after the second.